Hey everyone, it's me, Nova Nebula. Welcome back to This Is Why I'm Not Invited. Today's topic is for the people who think that standing along the walls and in the shadows makes them mysterious. It doesn't. It actually makes you look very unapproachable. Today's episode, we're going to be talking about wallflowers. No, not a plant, not the indie band that you cried to in 2005. When I'm talking about wallflowers, I'm talking about the people who basically stand alone by themselves or sit quietly in the corner without approaching anybody or talking to anybody or even getting out of their seat. Many people know exactly what I'm talking about. The person who shows up to an event and just stands against a wall like it owes them money. Then 2 days later, they're in my inbox like, nobody talked to me. It's so cliquey. I felt so alone. Nobody approached me. Newsflash, if you choose to sit by yourself away from everybody else and not participate in anything, of course people aren't going to approach you. You've literally made yourself look unapproachable. I just want to say this up front. Wallflowers aren't bad people, and it's not necessarily a bad thing. Being shy is not a crime. Being quiet is not a crime. Being observant, that's actually really good and pretty sexy sometimes. There's a big difference between being quiet and expecting the world to come find you in your corner. This episode is basically me saying, with nothing but love, of course, get off the wall. Let's take a second to recap on what a wallflower actually is in a kink setting. In a classic definition, a wallflower is a person who holds back. They linger at the edges of the action, and they don't initiate much of anything. At a kink party, that looks like people that are standing by the door instead of mingling, hugging a drink for 3 hours like it's emotional support animal, watching other people negotiate scenes, but never asking, never joining, then giving off this vibe that you're here, but you're not actually here. None of these behaviors are bad, and it's not evil or anything. I get it. Social anxiety is a real thing. Being brand new in a new place with new people, it can be terrifying. Walking into a dungeon can feel like it's stepping into a stage where everyone already knows their lines. Here's the kicker. A wallflower becomes part of the problem when they start to believe that being quiet means that other people owe them action. That by simply existing in the room, they've earned conversation, play, or a connection. That's when shy turns into a bad thing, and it starts to become close to the level, if not a low level, of entitlement. Let's talk about it. Why do wallflowers exist? Well, for one, there's the fear of rejection. You're worried that if you try to approach somebody and ask them to have a scene or if they want to play, they're just going to tell you no because they might not like you. Guess what? That's adulthood. Not everyone is going to like you, and that's okay. Rejection is normal, and that's something that you have to be able to accept and move on from without having a massive grudge or letting someone tell you no ruin your day. Then there's also the worry about performance anxiety. You see people dressed up in latex or leather, an awesome rigger doing an amazing bodysuit for one of his rope bunnies, and you're like, oh my gods, I didn't bring the right outfit. I'm underdressed. I don't match. I'm not dark enough. There's also a level of intimidation. Everyone that comes here already knows the rules. Everyone knows the protocol, the inside jokes, even. You're just standing here like it's freshman year at lunch all over again. All of this is valid. Here's the thing, kink isn't passive. This is a whole community that's based on communication, negotiation, and approach. If you're honestly just going to sit there and wait for someone to just suddenly become this mind reader and read your mind and sweep you off your feet, you're in the wrong genre. This isn't a rom com. This is a dungeon. Let's bring up the wallflower behavior checklist, if you would. I want you to be honest because it's okay if you do some of these things, but these are some things that we should definitely talk about changing. Do you just hover by an exit? Do you plant yourself in the darkest corner away from everybody else and just observe quietly? Do you just watch people play the entire night but never actually engage with other people or enter into a negotiation to potentially play? Do you cross your arms and wait for somebody to notice you? If you said yes to any of the questions that I just asked, unfortunately, that means you're definitely exhibiting some of this wallflower behavior. You are the main character of your own story, so why are you blending into drywall? Let me tell you about some of my events and some of the things that are happening with these wallflowers at my events. I have had quite a few wallflowers come to many events of mine, even before I started and opened my own dungeon. They would spend the entire night just watching, hanging out around the doors, hanging out near the restroom, quietly in a corner. And then later on, I would get private messages and comments on my feed saying, I didn't feel included. Your place is very nitpicky. People there seem to know everyone else. It seemed really cliquey. That is absolutely not true. I have a ton of different people from lots of different backgrounds come. My volunteers speak to everyone and make everyone feel included. Yes, we may know each other, and that's okay. Friends definitely come here, and that shouldn't be something that should be looked down on or used as something so offensive as, oh, they're cliques. They're friends. You need to make some. Make friends here and then bring them, or make friends somewhere else and bring them to the venue. This experience is not everyone's experience. There are dozens of people who are brand new and have never been to my venue. Yes, they're overwhelmed. Yes, they may be overstimulated, but you know what? They decided to walk up to someone and say, hey, I'm new here. Who are you? My name is this. Can you tell me a little bit more about the toys you're using? Or do you have a scene set up for later on tonight? Those people, no matter if it was their first time or if they were shy or quiet, they had the courage to get off the wall, engage with people, and they left with new friends. One of the best things that I've ever seen is this brand new person come all by themselves. And on their very first night, they actually had a scene with somebody and it lasted a long time. They both had so much fun, and it was such an honor to be able to watch both of them play. It was honestly great. I've also gotten a couple of emails and messages from brand new to the scene, super submissive people. And they say, hey, I'm very interested in attending your event, but I'm new to the area. I don't have any friends. Is it okay if I sit next to you during the event? Guess what? My answer to those emails is always going to be yes. Sure. Absolutely. I would love it if you sat next to me. Because you know what? For all of the people who have done that, they've become friends of mine, and some of them even have scenes with me. During these same events, on the very same night, for every single person who had the courage to get off the wall and say hello and ask about questions and even rules and protocol to make basic conversations, there are other people that just stayed in the corner, sat quietly by themselves furthest away from everyone in the corner of the room and didn't engage with anybody. They didn't even make eye contact. Then later, they had the audacity to be like, no one welcomed me. No one approached me. You see the difference here? One person made that decision to step forward. That's all it took. And the other, they decided to stay married to the wall. Here's the brutal truth. When you stay glued to the wall, you don't look shy. You look unapproachable. You look like you don't want to be talked to. You look like you're judging everybody else. Sometimes you even look like your security. Nobody wants to walk into that. Body language, it matters in these spaces. If your arms are crossed, your face is blank, and you've chosen the darkest corner of the dungeon to sit there by yourself, people are not going to think, oh, look at that person. I wonder what they have to say. They're so mysterious. I love their style. They're actually going to think, this person doesn't want to be bothered. And then you come to me and say, hey, why didn't anyone bother to approach me? Here's a message to all of the wallflowers. I don't want you to fail. I want you to thrive. I don't want you to just get by on the bare minimum. I want you to get out there, be active, and make friends. So let's talk about some of the things that you can do to end your wallflower era. Step 1, smile. That makes a huge difference. You don't have to show your teeth, but make a grin on your face and make it big enough so that people that are nearby or people that you make eye contact with eventually can see it. Step 2, ask questions. Now, before you say something stupid like, what should I ask? How about for a name? Hi, my name is this. What is your name? Hi, are you having a scene tonight? Did you bring toys? What kind of toys do you like? What kind of play are you into? How does this game work? Is this seat taken? Step 3, compliment. People, they like being noticed. They like when their hard work pays off. Hey, that corset looks great on you. Where did you get it? That latex is wonderful. Was that made to measure? That is the coolest toy I've ever seen. Could you tell me where you got it from? Step 4. Now, here's the kicker. Ask to join games. Get up. Be present. Ask what the people are doing. Hey, what kind of game is this? Hey, what are you guys talking about? Can I join in? Don't keep your distance and stay outside of the circle. Get next to it and slowly slide in. You don't have to dominate anything and don't try to take over the conversation, but just say hello. Just make sure that other people know that you're present. With these simple 4 steps, you will turn from furniture into a participant. And yes, I know, it can definitely be scary. But aren't you already scared? Would you rather take the risk and be scared to ask maybe a couple of awkward questions? Or would you rather just continue to be scared by yourself holding up the wall? Take the first step and at least be scared knowing that you did something. As much as it hurts to hear, just because you show up to an event does not mean that people owe you inclusion or they owe you conversation or time. Whatever you're looking to get by just simply existing in a space is not owed to you simply because you just showed up. It takes active participation on your end for yourself to be included. If you want to be included, you must include yourself. Crazy, right? Community is not customer service. You don't get to file a complaint because you're lonely, especially when you were the main part of manufacturing your own loneliness. Like, come on. If you take one step forward, even one, people are going to meet you halfway. Now, I'm not asking you to become an extrovert, okay? I understand the difference between introverts and extroverts. And let me tell you, there's a lot. There's absolutely no way you're going to just turn into an extrovert overnight, especially if you're introverted. But take a step. Again, I'm not asking you to become the loudest person in the room. Don't dominate scenes, don't interrupt people, but just make yourself visible. Make it look like you actually want to have friends. Engage with people. Open yourself up. That's all it takes. When you do, you're going to find out that the community that we have is a hell of a lot warmer than you thought it was. And it's definitely not as scary. There is nothing more beautiful than watching the wallflowers bloom. But if you choose to stay plastered to the wall, you're never going to grow. If you want connection, if you want play, if you want to stop writing those sad complaint posts after events, get off the wall. There is this seemingly huge myth that if they want me, they'll come to me. If someone is really interested in me, then they'll approach me. Hard stop. That actually sounds nice in theory, but kink spaces are not dating apps. Nobody owes you that first move. If you're banking on the idea that people will sense your quiet vibe and magically approach you, you're setting yourself up for disappointment. At my events, we are all adults. If you want connection, you have to risk a little. A closed mouth does not get fed, and it's honestly going to be up to you whether you starve or you eat. I completely understand that for some people, being a wallflower offers them a sense of security. Being a wallflower feels safe. You can watch, you can avoid rejection, you can tell yourself that you're just observing the scene, watching the space. Honestly, there is nothing wrong with that. Observation is really important and it's very valuable. If that's all you ever do, you're not actually participating. Imagine this. You've been invited to a pool party and you're absolutely excited to go. You dress up, you have your bathing suit, you put on your sunscreen, and then you go to the party, only to just sit there and stare at the water while watching everybody else play games and go swimming. All the while, you want nothing more than to go swimming yourself, but you hold yourself back. That doesn't make any sense now, does it? What wallflowers really need to realize is that your silence, it creates work for other people. When you expect to be approached, what you're really saying is, it's someone else's job to make me comfortable. That is entitlement. It's just dressed up as shyness. I've had people come to me after events complaining that no one asked them to play, that no one approached them to talk. They had a hard time speaking with anybody. I always ask, well, who did you approach? Who did you speak to? Do you remember the name of the volunteer you asked? Every single time, the answer I get is no one. I honestly do my best to host a variety of events. I understand that dungeons can be very overwhelming for some people, and I really am trying to build a community. I do paint and sips, I do mixers, I do Magic the Gathering and D&Ds. This all requires a level of participation and a decent level of communication. With this being said, sometimes at my events, it's actually kind of painful to watch people choose to stand next to the wall the whole night, instead of talking to other people that are there to enjoy themselves and play a game or paint. They don't mingle, they don't talk to anybody, they just sit there. They don't introduce themselves. There have been plenty of times when I see somebody that's sitting there by themselves and I go to make conversation. I introduce myself, ask them if they've been there before, make small talk like, hey, are you local? Did you have a far drive? What are you into? How long have you been in the scene? And sometimes I feel like I'm pulling teeth. I can absolutely tell that it's a one sided conversation, and it actually makes me feel uncomfortable. I'm doing my best to socialize with somebody who just doesn't want to talk to me or engage me in my conversation. And that's rough as an event host and as somebody who's super social. Even after I've made some of these attempts, I get a message later saying they felt excluded. The reality is that wallflowers will mainly exclude themselves. No one told them to stand there by themselves off in the corner. Nobody told them not to talk to anybody. They just chose to do that. I want to take a moment to talk about what it means to actually participate. Participation is not always going to be having an active scene or topping somebody or bottoming for somebody. Sometimes it just means starting a conversation, asking a question, joining a group for a laugh. All of these small actions make a difference and they count. Getting off the wall isn't just suddenly about, becoming this massive social butterfly. It's about making a single move instead of making none. People also need to realize that rejection is not a death sentence. The fear is real. Yes, there is fear of rejection, and that's okay. You think if you ask somebody to chat or invite them into a scene and they say no, you'll crumble. Rejection isn't fatal. I feel like in kink, no is actually really common. No is healthy. You cannot build a scene or a connection if you aren't willing to hear no sometimes. Trust me, when someone does say yes, that rush outweighs every other no that you've ever heard. As a host and an event organizer, I notice wallflowers. I see you standing there by yourself in the corner, not talking to anybody, like just existing in the space, orbiting the edges but not getting too close. And then I notice the people who jump in. I notice people who chat with DMs, they ask questions, they get curious. Guess who I remember? The people who take that risk and engage in conversations are people that I look forward to seeing again at a next event, or I think of them when we talk about something like anime and then my anime night comes up. I'm like, hey, I wonder if this person will be there because they asked me about it last time and we had a great conversation about that topic. It's not about being loud, it's about showing up. So let's talk about tactics. How do you get off the wall without feeling like you're faking it? Starting off small helps. Introducing yourself, asking what their name is, complimenting them. We just talked about this. Remember the 4 steps? Okay. Join in a conversation circle. Okay. Open the circle up. Even if you just start off by listening, that's great. If you're eyeing a scene, feel free to ask a DM what's happening. That's instant engagement. You're learning, you're connecting. You're not just wallpaper. I love when I see people return to my venue and my events because that means it's enjoyable and people are honestly having a good time. That makes me feel good, right? If you still come to my events and do nothing but sit against the wall or isolate yourself from everybody else, at this point, It's a choice that you're making. You can't expect a deep connection with somebody if you yourself are not offering the bare minimum of participation. If you leave feeling unseen, remember that you chose to make yourself hard to see. This is my challenge to my wallflowers. Keep your quiet nature. Keep that watchful eye of yours. There's nothing wrong with that. But just take that risk. Take one step forward. Come off the wall. Say hello. Smile. Ask me my name. Ask others their name. Ask any question, really. Say something. Every scene, every friendship, every kink story, it starts with somebody getting off the wall. I promise, the dungeon floor is a lot more interesting than the wallpaper. That's it. That's my rant and love letter to all my wallflowers. It's a challenge, not a condemnation. I want you in this community. I want you alive in it, not just wallpaper. The next time you're at one of my events or any other dungeon, and you feel that gravitational pull towards the corner, fight it. Step into the room and say hello. You might surprise yourself. Thank you for joining me for episode 7 of This Is Why I'm Not Invited. I'm Nova Nebula, and if you're listening from the wall right now, I see you. And I'm waiting.